Well, Kansas City Chiefs player Harrison Butker has caused quite the storm online following comments he made during a commencement speech at Benedictine College in Kansas. Take a look.
I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world.
Listen, I like when people say what they need to say. He's at a Catholic college.
Yeah.
He's a staunch Catholic. These are his beliefs, and he's welcome to them. I don't have to believe him.
Right.
I don't have to accept them. The ladies that were sitting in that audience do not have to accept him. The same way we want respect when Colin Kaepernick takes a knee.
Right.
We want to give respect to people whose ideas are different from ours.
This has to be one of the biggest nothing burgers of 2024, but it's important to discuss nonetheless. I'd heard from my own social media circles that some football player made a very misogynistic and hateful speech, so I naturally went to investigate. I took note of exactly what people were saying, as their behavior had all the hallmarks of yet another social media knee-jerk from people who are always offended by anything that slightly differs from their myopic view of society. And after listening to the entire speech, I can tell you that Harrison purposely littered the speech with as many trigger topics that were not even remotely close to his actual faith, such as DEI and COVID. He did, however, include many common talking points that you hear from any semi-devout Catholic when it comes to homosexuality, traditional gender roles, and the encroachment of secularism within the church itself. Yet people selectively chose to aim their outrage almost exclusively at his comments to the women within the college. Let me be frank. This is a Catholic man giving a Catholic-themed speech at a Catholic venue in front of a Catholic audience. His crimes against humanity was publicly stating his personal beliefs that are unique to those who actually identify as Catholic. But don't take it from me. Listen to the offensive segment that has everyone in an uproar.
For the ladies present today, congratulations on an amazing accomplishment. You should be proud of all that you have achieved to this point in your young lives. I want to speak directly to you briefly because I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now about to cross this stage and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. I'm on this stage today and able to be the man I am because I have a wife who leans into her vocation. I'm beyond blessed with the many talents God has given me, but it cannot be overstated that all of my success is made possible because a girl I met in band class back in middle school would convert to the faith, become my wife, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker.
The comment about his wife's vocation and the moment she felt that her life began drew ire across the board, but there's something noticeable about the way that people are portraying his comments versus what he actually said. The most common misinterpretation is something to the effect of Harrison believes all women should only be homemakers, which is not what he said. Even the Sisters of Mount St. Scholastica did not believe that Harrison's comments accurately represent the Catholic Benedictine Liberal Arts College. They stated that instead of promoting unity in our church, our nation, and the world, his comments seem to have fostered division. One of our concerns was that the assertion that being a homemaker is the highest calling for a woman. Harrison mentioned no less than 5 different trigger topics ranging from DEI to homosexuality, but the vast majority of his opponents reference that same comment and cite what they believe to be his misogyny as the source. I don't think it's a coincidence that so many people who dislike this speech all just so happen to skip over the remarks about DIE, the pandemic, abortion, gay pride, contraception, only to hone in on the same segment that detailed his relationship with his wife. Many of them just so happen to make the same mistake when interpreting it. But I'm not the only one who saw this. Check out the clip between two women who heard the speech and listen to one correct the other when she repeats the misinformation about his views on women's roles.
The address. So all of the people who are outraged about this were not obviously the intended audience for it. But that being said, I think what everyone is getting wrong about this speech is that they're accusing him of saying that all women need to make this choice to be a homemaker. He applauded the women in the audience on getting their degree, and he said that some of them were going to have successful careers, but that most of them were excited for marriage and children. And I think it's just an objective fact that most women, statistically, do want to have families. And according to the Institute for Family Studies, married mothers and married women are the happiest in society. So he's speaking to a fundamental truth about society here. He's not telling women what they have to do. He's simply offering some advice based on him and his wife's experience. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I doubt that there were a bunch of women in the audience who were offended.
Yeah, I think it's good that Whoopi Goldberg said, hey, people in the audience, you don't have to listen to him either. He's entitled to his opinion, but also everyone else is entitled to disagree with his opinion if they want to. And no one prevented him from, being a football player. I don't foresee that happening for Mr. Harrison Butker here. But we did see that kind of backlash for Colin Kaepernick. And so no one's trying to end his football career. I mean, Ray Gun is making shirts that say small kick energy, which is just devastating. I can't imagine stepping on the field when people in the stands are wearing that shirt. Nevertheless, he's not being prevented by the league to play his sport for making his political statement. So I just don't agree with that analogy there by Whoopi Goldberg. People are disagreeing with him very freely online simply because, I think feminism is not just women only have careers. I'm also not a blue-haired 30-something-year-old who isn't dating. I don't think I fit that stereotype, but I still disagree with what he said. Feminism is when, women decide, I want to have a career. Or women decide, I want to have a baby. I love that for you. Or women decide, I want to have a career and have a baby and get married. I love that for you too. But when a guy tells women how they should make their decisions and why, I just don't love that. I don't think it's necessary. And so I think that's why people are annoyed by it, because it's just a ridiculous thing coming from a guy to say your most valued, role in the world will be this for most.
But he didn't say that. He said one of the most valued roles is homemaker, right? And so I think that's where the thread is getting lost, because people are accusing him of trafficking in these objective one way or another scenarios when he's talking in generalities. He said most of you probably want to get married and have kids. Some of you will have
and
careers.
It might not be most of them. That's my point.
But I mean, as I said in my opener, the majority of women do want those things. So there's nothing wrong about what he said. And he's also, again, talking to a traditional Catholic school filled with women who most likely do want those things.
Look, I'm not Catholic and I don't agree with everything in the speech, but there seems to be a rift in what traditional values he holds and where he sees the church going. I want to show you what the 1995 official Italian Catechism for the adults of the Catholic Church has to say on the matter and compare it with what Harrison believes. L'uomo deve essere responsabilizzato come marito e come padre. You know what? I'm just going to read it in English. Man must be made responsible as a husband and as a father to share the daily burden of family life. The woman must not follow him along the path of individualistic affirmation and sexual consumerism. Productive work in itself is good for both. However, it should not be a forced choice. Hence the need for cultural and economic recognition of domestic work and the social role of the family. Equal dignity and distinction, reciprocity, complementarity characterize the relationship between man and woman and constitute the general criterion for enhancing the presence of both sexes in the family and society and in the church. A big thank you to longtime viewer Fabio Andriazzi for the translation. But overall, I think this whole thing is overblown. There are people, especially women, who adhere to these beliefs, and that's okay. He didn't come across as wanting to force them onto others, and that's where he earns my respect. I also think Harrison purposely mentioned pet peeves that were not directly related to his faith just to garner attention, and people gave it to him. For all the people who were offended by his views, they were instrumental in helping him promote them. Imagine now that all the people talking on this topic and every discussion that I've seen, people are agreeing with him and standing with him. So tell me what you think. Should he be silenced and shunned for his beliefs, or should he be given the same leeway as his more modern counterparts? I'm the Commentary King, and I'll see you around.